Our purpose in life is to seek knowledge every single day, then turn around and pass the torch of knowledge on to someone else. If you want to leave a legacy, seek knowledge and pass the torch. All right, we are on another episode of Pass the Torch podcast. Today we have a special treat. We have Ben Chai, who is considered by many to be a hidden jewel in the business world. He is a speaker, author, and entertainer. Ben is also known as the Dr Who of Business. Ben has lived his talk, every single nugget of his business and mindset strategy. Ben has actioned to grow a variety of multi-million-pound businesses in diverse fields, including property, software, media, authoring, security, education, and hospitality. His insights have helped hundreds of thousands of people in over 60 countries reach new levels of greatness in their lives. Ben, thank you so much for being on Pass the Torch podcast. Welcome.
Well, thank you for the privilege of being with you.
Absolutely.
Shall I call you Leighton?
Go ahead. What'd you say?
Shall I call you Leighton?
You can call me Tay. Tay for short.
Your name? Sorry?
Tay for short.
Tay. Okay.
Yep.
Tay.
Absolutely. The very first question. See, we have 3-letter names now. You're Ben and I'm Tay, so it works perfectly.
So long as you don't zap me.
I won't zap you. I would never do that.
Then I'd call you Taser.
I love it.
That was entertaining. So
you are definitely an entertainer. The very first question, Taser. That might be my rap name. That I always ask is what is your why for what you're doing right now? How did you get there, and why do you do it day in and day out?
Yeah. Well, that's a very wonderful question, and the funny thing is I've never actually been able to answer that question. And I've always had to make up some kind of answer to that, what my why is. It's purely because I can tell you what motivated me ages ago in the early days of my life, but it's not really what motivates me today. Mm-hmm. And in the early days, I came from a very bullied background, as many awesome people also do. So, if you want to be awesome in life, have some people bully you, right? Be sure.
Some healthy bullying.
Yeah, have a bit of healthy bullying.
Yeah.
So I spent, a large proportion of my life fixing myself because, I didn't have much self-confidence. But I always believed inside of me I could do something, anything. And when certain challenges came my way, normally when people would say, Ben, you can't do that. Like, Ben, you cannot be a speaker because you're so shy. It's very true. If you're bullied a lot, you don't get much self-confidence, and you don't know how to connect with people properly. So you create a vicious cycle where you isolate yourself, and so more people will bully you. You don't learn social skills, so more people think you're weird. They do anyway with me, but in a good way today.
Yeah.
In those days, in a bad way, because you don't have social skills. And so it was that really, I guess my why was purely because, I wanted to prove people wrong. So when they said I couldn't speak, I learned to speak. When they said, I had probably 5 or 6 English teachers tell me I'd never be able to write. Wow. Yet I've written, 5 books, and I've made millions in writing. So there was, I remember my first job. I didn't have much, mm-hmm. and it was a very low-paid job. My manager told me it would take me 3 years to learn what he learned. And I thought, I'm going to really apply myself. And I learned most of his level of job in a month. I didn't tell him I'd learned it, and that was configuring computers.
Yeah.
I didn't want to tell him that I'd learned it in case he got rid of me, so I didn't share with him. for the 2 months.
Yeah.
In those days, I used to sleep on the floor of my good friend Tanner, and there were other people who used to live on the floor, and I used to have, cereal for lunch and porridge for dinner. So that was my background. But I worked very hard to learn software. I learned very hard to communicate with people. And over time, I'd love to say it was overnight, but over time, I grew to be this person that I am today. I don't know whether that gives a why.
It does, absolutely.
Because when people tell me, you can't do this, something.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right, and then I'll go off and do it anyway.
So, would you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert? I know that's a loaded question.
I consider myself to be an introvert.
Yeah.
People, when they see me, consider me to be an extrovert because I'm very out there. But you'll see me vanish after a while, just to renew my batteries. And so even in large crowds, I'll just vanish.
Definitely. And then, so how does an introvert then become someone who is so prominent in public speaking and also in networking? To me, to some people that might seem counterintuitive.
Yes. Well, if you look at many of our famous actors, many of them are actually introverts. And acting is a way for them to be somebody different, if you like.
Absolutely.
And I have a favorite phrase, which is all the world's a stage, and we're the actors. So Tay, you're one of my audience.
Absolutely.
And that's why people say I'm entertaining, because if I'm in the street or when I'm thinking, oh, this is my stage. I need to put on a little performance for somebody, or I need to help them because they're my stage, and I want my audience to be healthy and vibrant to look at the great productions I produce. And of course, the great productions really is just you walking at the street. So it's nothing like the Black Panther film, which I saw yesterday, which I absolutely loved.
No.
It's nothing like a great film. so it's just you walking down the street, but everyone's watching you. A bit like, do you have Big Brother? It's a bit like...
I do. Big Brother Frank.
Watching you sleep and thinking, wow, that's amazing.
I hope my wife thinks that sometimes. Hopefully I don't look like a horror film while she's watching. No, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah, definitely. People might not know about me, but I'm an introvert as well. So it's funny when I meet other people and they tell me they're introverted, and you have such an amazing personality, very charismatic. And immediately when I just started talking to you today, I was able to connect with you. Not saying that's not capable with introverts, but the misconception is that
connectors are introverts. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, that's it. It's a huge misconception. I think that it's being broken down. It's being broken down now. I think I was watching AlphaGo. And I keep talking to people about the AlphaGo Netflix film because I just watched it. But it was funny. It was like talking about engineers, and they were like, well, how do you know the difference between an introverted and an extroverted engineer? And it said the introverted engineer will look at their shoes and the extroverted engineer will look at your shoes. And I was like, oh, that's super interesting. But
yeah, I'm just thinking how often I look at my shoes.
Yeah, I don't necessarily do that, but I thought it was interesting from just the extra jump, because people like us, I don't know if this is true for you, but we will interact as people would necessarily think an extrovert would interact, but we need to recharge. And that's the biggest thing, is that recharge after. Is that true for you?
Yeah, that really resonates with me, that recharge component. Like, I was at a party the other day, I brought 5 people, and then I just vanished, or I went to sleep in my own little bubble.
No.
To just internally recharge my energy. And I think actually that's why many introverts are mistakenly considered to be extroverts, because we recharge so much that our battery of if you like, communication and being out there is exceptional. How I learned to communicate, it sounds really I was trying to find the right word for it, but when I was, I think it was 18 or 19 that I went to university, and I fell in with a group of people who were Christians, and they taught me a whole bunch of ways to live. And reading the Bible eight or nine times, it was a very difficult book to read.
Yeah.
Like, some chapters you don't even want to read. You think, this is so boring.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, again, jewels hidden in that book, and lots of ways to communicate. And one of the if you like, the jewels that it gives to people is to add value to people in wherever they are in their lives. And also having that background of bullying, you almost are able to spot people who are being put upon in any kind of way.
Absolutely.
Whether that's a physical way, which is, as children, that's the kind of bullying we see. But obviously there's emotional bullying where people try to guilt you out. There's intellectual bullying where people say, well, why should you say that? I know more than you. They don't say those words because we're adults, but you can feel them, making you feel small. And so having that childhood and combined with learning stuff from the Bible about adding value to people allowed me to see very directly into people's hearts and think, how can I add value to them without telling them that I can see what they're going through?
That's huge.
Because I think a lot of people don't like to be outed. And
Absolutely.
then over time they'll think, you somehow kind of sent me some love in a way that I didn't expect, and then they open up to you without you necessarily saying, hey, open up to me, you look like you're really sad, tell me all about it, what's going on? That which really puts people off. It makes it, I feel like I'm being interrogated. And I was trying to hide my sadness. So I think that combination has helped me tremendously. And obviously there's books that you can read, like How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie's iconic book.
Yes, I love it.
Which is what my son and I helped rewrite to something a bit more modern.
Yeah.
Because again, going through the book and the text, I'm finding it's a bit dated, although still very helpful. So I'd still recommend people read the book. But he didn't have Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube in those days. And you can see that people on Facebook, the way they communicate, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, that's why nobody likes your posts.
That's it. No, yeah, the Bible in my life is absolutely the most important book. And I agree with that, because there's a lot, whether you're Christian or not, there are definitely lessons in there that you can take and you can read and you're able to apply that. Even if you're reading it as literature, So I love that you said that, and it's absolutely true for me, and I think other people can take that with them as well.
Well, if you're trying to learn to read that book, because it isn't an easy book to read, I think the first thing is I just would find all the easy chapters to read, the harder ones, and then I just essentially did an overview read, and then over time, as I say, it's a bit like if I rewatched the Black Panther film. So I'm dating our interview by talking about the Black Panther film, which I try not to do in
No, you're good. You're good. This is real.
But I know that if I saw it the second and third time, I would see more things that I didn't catch in the first viewing. And it's the same with books. That when you read them more and more, you think, oh, I didn't see that before. And perhaps you weren't ready for it. I don't know, or there's only so much input we can take in our heads. And so when it's repeated, then we see the depth. And so a lot of those stories you can take as stories, but when you read it again and again, you then start seeing stories within stories.
100%.
Which are tied to real life.
Definitely.
Anyway, so that's too deep, maybe.
No, absolutely not. Definitely not for Pass the Torch podcast. So, talking about the Bible, which again I said is the most important book for me. But anything after that is personal development books. And so you've written the book. It's called Social Magnetism. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Magnetism. Yes, as I said, we wanted to kind of make Dale Carnegie's book more modern.
Love it.
And also in the book, so it really is about how to connect people with people.
Okay.
But in Dale's book, he doesn't actually explain to you some of the value that you have that you can add to other people. Mm-hmm. So part of my TED Talk will be talking about the value and how to understand your personal value. Like, say, for example, you are a bullied person. You don't have much confidence. You don't think much of yourself because, you're thinking, why would people behave like that to you? Mm-hmm. So there must be something wrong with you. But in the book, we teach you how to find value. So, for example, I suffered from eczema. So this is, I've combated it, and I know various ways to help people who suffer with this kind of eczema that I have. I love dance. Yeah. So again, I've learned how to dance Latin dance to a high level. So if again I can add value in that area and share with people how to dance. Mm-hmm. Just these life things that you have. Being bullied, I can help people through being bullied because I've been bullied. And when you understand those components of yourself, you have conversational hooks, if you like, that you can work with people on.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. The other thing, which again, coming back to the Bible and also a self-development book called Wayne Dyer, who passed away unfortunately a couple of years ago, is you really have to understand how to like yourself and accept yourself as a human being. And I remember there's a verse, and I wish I could remember where it is now. It's in the book of John, where there's a phrase that says, God wants you for you, not because your parents had sex, or I'm dealing with some countries where a lot of women are raped, and so they've had children out of wedlock, and it isn't because you were raped, your mum was raped or anything. God wanted you for you, because you are a valuable person, and something's going to happen and help you become and add value, maybe to even one person on this planet, which will then snowball. And Wayne Dyer taught me to look in a mirror and say, you that person in the mirror, you're wonderful. I love you. Yes, you're a bit flaky, but I'm always going to be with you. I'm going to wake up with you whenever you get up. You're a bit flaky. Maybe I don't like that flakiness. I don't like the fact that you're a bit late. And maybe you're not so clever intellectually, but you've got a good heart. And I love you. I love you to pieces. And so Wayne Dyer teaches you to, that spot on you, that mole, that's a beauty spot. I love that mole. So he teaches you to look into that mirror. That took me 2 years to do, to value yourself. And by the way, he recommends you do that totally naked. So you take off all your clothes, right? And you look at that mirror and do that. And that's why it was so hard to do.
Yeah.
So those are two components of what I'll be talking about. And the third is learn to walk away. So not every interaction is going to be fantastic. Other people have crap going on in their lives.
Yeah.
And even if you want to add value to them, they will block you. And you've just got to learn that. And it was a hard lesson for me that I can't save the world.
Yeah.
So I love superheroes, by the way. One of my other things is I love comics. And I always think I'm this superhero and I want to be a superhero in life. But you learn that actually you can't save the world. And it's a very humbling thing to go through. But you can with a team, so get a team.
That's huge. Oh, I love you said that. Yeah, I'm definitely a believer in the spheres. If you can control or just influence, that one sphere you have and influence another sphere and they influence their sphere, that has a domino effect, and that's extremely powerful. And yeah, exactly what you said. That to me it takes a team to do that. So.
And I love what you're saying about this domino effect, because actually that's an aspect of the compound effect. So if I help one person, it then snowballs. They may help, they may or may not, but it snowballs. And it's, you asked me how I was able to be successful in many areas.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I had help. Number one thing, I either had someone, like an older person, telling me what I should be doing and me listening to them. And two, I just would do something small every day, and that's the compound effect.
Yeah.
I think too many people are thinking, let's do something big, and let's do it big now.
100%.
And because we actually don't have the learnings to do something big straight away, they set themselves up for unnecessary failure, and which impacts their confidence. Now, I'm a big fan of failure and learnings from failure, but I am not a big fan of unnecessary failure.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you grow it small, just a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
I remember this airline, I think it was called Sabina, and in the early days it was called Such a Bad Experience, Never Again, which is the thing. And in order to improve, they got a coach, and they just told them, just find something about your business and improve by 1%, just some small bit every day. And over a couple of years, they became, at the time, the number one leading airline before they were acquired. And if people would learn that and stop going for, hey, I'm going to be this big thing, and I'm going to make money, tons of money, and hey, you've got to come in and invest with me, and they get the snowball effect of a lot of people investing in absolutely something they can't do because they haven't learned the mindset, they haven't learned the hard set, they haven't learned the intellectual set to to create and make that vision a reality. If we look at the superhero film industry, which is currently, one of the most prosperity, it just makes more money than industry today. But Marvel started way back in the, oh my goodness, because I used to have the first Spider-Man ever. But we're talking about 50s, 60s, and that kind of vision has taken, decades to become a reality.
You're absolutely right.
Obviously, the people will then say, but Ben, what about Facebook? And I would say Facebook is an anomaly. Yeah, even though, but even then, that didn't happen overnight.
No.
If you look at what Zuckerberg went through to take it to where it is today, it still took, 5, 6, 7 years from inception to become what it is today. So when people are just going big now, and you hear this, go big, feel the fear and do it anyway. I want to kill people who say that. I really do. Because most people can't feel the fear. Yeah. When you feel fear the first time, you're paralyzed. But when you take that fear and take it home and you think, what can I do the next time I meet that fear to overcome it? That's how you face the fear. But when people say, jump off the plane, I'm thinking, I'll kill you off the plane.
It's huge.
Jump
I love it. It's a huge, important message, and I'm glad you're saying it. First of all, I love that you said, don't fail unnecessarily, because right now, there's a lot of people saying, fail, and I understand what they're saying, but a lot of people are interpreting that to say, well, I haven't had results for years, and I'm being told to fail, so I'm doing the right thing. Well, yes and no. You have to have a certain amount of judgment to understand that, hey, this is when you should either walk away or pivot, do something different, but don't fail for the sake of failing. Fail to learn and then to succeed later. So I love that you said that.
Thank you, Dave. You're more concise with your words. It's fantastic.
No.
I was in a BBC documentary. BBC in our country is an iconic.
I love
television.
BBC. Big fan.
and they were constantly saying, Ben, we need to make your phrases more concise. We only have this amount of television time.
This Pass the Torch podcast, we have time. I'm not. BBC's here. Pass the Torch podcast is down only.
We don't know that.
We have time. We definitely have time. No, we're good. Um, I love that. Your answers are great, and I think they speak to your level of experience and you just being able to be a voice and a mentor. I already see you as someone who's trying to come up there. They're like, okay, where is Ben at, and how do you get there? And obviously, it's not overnight. So if someone's out there and they're trying to get out in your world, they're trying to become a networker. What are some of the things that make you a successful networker, and what are some of the things that you're like, that is a red flag? If you do this, you're gonna sink yourself before you even begin.
Yeah, okay, that's a really big question, which we wrote a whole book around, and so it's still complicated. Some tips off the top of my head is, first of all, have situational awareness.
Yeah.
So, for example, in the UK, if you come up to somebody and you have a business,
Mm-hmm.
and you instantly say, hey, my name is Tay, and I've got this business in making awesome mugs.
Yeah.
Would you to buy some? That in the UK, that's not a good way to communicate.
Okay.
So in a networking event, because you're trying to sell them straight away without even knowing anything about them. For
Yeah.
example, they may have their own mug creation company.
Yeah.
So part of the book asks you to first of all engage with the person where they are. So find out a little bit about them. And also don't ask the standard questions, oh, what's your name?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? How old are you? Those are questions that people forget. So right off the bat, we teach people to look at the person and say, oh, Tay, that's a lovely red or mauve shirt you're wearing. If I like it, if I don't like it, I shouldn't say it.
No, I like it.
But find something that attracts you to the person, or something you like about the person,
Mm-hmm.
that is not going to be, taken in a. I mean, you can't guarantee this, but not in a bad way. So for another bad one is that men use a lot is oh wow, you're very beautiful to women.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
if the lady is a beautiful lady, she's heard it like a million times. So again, you'd be looking at, wow, this is a great color of nails that you've done. I find that really attractive. What made you choose those colors? So can you see how the conversation goes very differently?
Absolutely.
And then you can then say, hey, my name's Ben. What's yours? And then talk about areas that they might feel passionate about before you even get onto business.
Mm-hmm.
Now that works very well in some cultures. In other cultures, you might be able to just go in and say, hey, I've got 10 months, would you like to buy one?
Yeah.
But understand the culture that you're working in.
Love
before you engage. Some of the people I work with, they actually have created events where you can just go in and tell people what you are, and it is for you to just go and sell directly.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that those events are very few and far between. I don't know what it's like in the States. Is that considered polite for me to just say, hey, Tay, I'm the world's #1 coach. You look like you need some coaching, and I feel that I've got a package just for you. Here are my 3 packages. This one's $10,000, this one's $5,000, this one's $3,000, and then I go through the packages. How would you feel if I engaged with you like that?
I would feel overwhelmed. But it's definitely the depends on the type of event, if it, again, like you said, if it's an event that is the intent, like that's what you're supposed to do, then maybe. But if it's a fundraiser for something else, then you might not want to go that way.
Yeah. And I have to say that I've had business from just going to a party, from just meeting someone on the street. I met this sheikh by accident.
Yeah.
I didn't even know he was a sheikh. He was in a restaurant. He wasn't dressed up with his white stuff. He was in the UK, so he was dressed like you and me.
Yeah.
And I didn't know who he was, but that's again when you're networking, you're thinking to add value to somebody, and we just started conversation. Yeah. Now he wants me to come to Dubai and do some business with him. But I never thought, hey, I want to do business with you. I'm purely looking at you as a person, Tay, and thinking, what can I do to really help Tay? Maybe I can do something amazing on his podcast, get a hula hoop or something, and do a little dance and see if I can raise the number of people that connect to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm serious to be.
Yeah.
So that's what's going in my head, rather than, hey, how much business can I get from Tay? Which I feel, no matter what the culture, may be an incorrect way of thinking, but I haven't researched every single culture on this planet, so I can't say. I'm just saying, in the majority of areas that I work, it would be considered impolite.
I would agree with that. No, that's great. And networking is probably, and this is my opinion, I'm gonna get all sorts of flack.
Oh, well,
but it seems like this is harder for people to do now, and in the age of social media, social networking, the human aspect of getting out from behind your computer, getting in another room, and interacting with each other is becoming more of an art form than something that people are used to.
Yes, and I totally agree with that. And before the computer, we'd go out in the street and play football or rugby or basketball or play on the bicycles with our friends, and now we're behind our computers. And obviously, when you're on Facebook, you're in the middle of chat, you can just get up and leave.
Yeah, that's it. That would be.
And then you're thinking, where are they? What happened? And then they do that, don't they? And you almost take that online behavior and put it in real life, and then it affects people's confidence. That, why did they do that?
Absolutely.
So I totally see where you're coming from. And again, that's why we wrote Social Magnetism, because we also talk about Facebook and LinkedIn and social media in general. I'm thinking, how can I add value to people in social media? Just a little thing that I used to do. I don't do it anymore, but in my social media, my Facebook, I would have like Mindset Monday, which I still do. I do Property Tuesday mostly because I do investment in property. Mm-hmm. I used to have a Parenting Friday. Now, in each of these days, I would post something relevant to that day. And Thursday, that was Promotional Thursday, used to promote a friend. Mm. If they had a business, I would promote their business and say what I liked about my friend and their business. Or if they didn't have a business, I would just have a shout out to my friend, why I like them, their qualities, and so on. And this on social media is a way to add value to other people.
100%.
That's an active one. If you don't have the writing ability or the photographs, because I take a lot of photographs, then again, just interacting on somebody else's wall and saying something nice about the post. And that's going beyond like. Definitely. When you click on and say like. So essentially there's people want to add value to people, and there's good, there's great, and there's awesome. So good, if you want to interact with people on a social perspective, is to just click the like. That's kind of you. You kind of made some effort.
Yeah.
Great is actually you making a comment. Awesome is you not only making the comment but having links on where you can build whatever their post is. Yep. So give them more value to their post. And that is the awesome level. And doing the awesome level takes a lot of effort. So somebody wrote something in a property forum, and it really took me an hour or so to write a reply to that, which would help not him, but also his viewers to move to the next level. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. You are so experienced in just a broad amount of things. Like when you were growing up, or even in the recent years, did you do that on your own, or did Did you have a mentor, someone who's kind of guiding you and saying, "Hey, this is what you should concentrate on now"? Have you thought about this, or how did this journey take you? How did you form yourself into
In
being?
fact, one of my mentors has said to me, Ben, I don't know why you associate with these kinds of people.
Yeah.
You should be really hanging out with very high-level people because that's your level.
Yeah.
And I went away thinking, I actually like these people that I hang out with.
Yeah.
Maybe it's an ego thing. Maybe I know more than them. I don't. So I feel that I'm constantly adding value.
Uh-huh.
But I spent a lot of time with very rich people and very poor people, and they're all the same,
Thank you.
Very
Yeah.
people. Some are just so unhappy. Some of them are happy. This phrase, I used to have no money and now I have lots of money, and believing me, having some money, I'm much happier with that. I think that is bullshit. I really do. I think it's just a phrase to get people to buy your product. And one of the things I teach people is are you happy? Yes, I am. Why do you want to change and ruin that happiness?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but back to your question. So, do I have mentors? You, Tay, would be a mentor. Now that I've met you, I'd be watching what you're doing, and I'm thinking, wow, that's really cool. You remember that, like, before you were setting up, I was asking you about your microphones and your setup. So I'd be thinking, you managed to connect your Zoom microphone to your laptop, which I'd never have thought of. But, we've connected it to our cameras when we're taking video and recording. But I never thought to connect it to my laptop. So that kind of, to me, is a little bit of mentoring. But as a young boy, because I was bullied a lot by my peer group, I used to hang out with people who were 60 or 70 years old. And they used to tell me lots of stories, and that would have been a kind of mentoring. So the challenges that I faced when I met the big world were very different from people my age, because the mentality I had, and people used to say I was very wise, but actually I'd accumulated that wisdom from people who are much older than me. So I had different challenges. And so I would say, yes, they would be my mentors and coaches. I've also listened to a lot of Brian Tracy, a lot of Wayne Dyer, Zig Ziglar when he was alive. And those audio components would have been mentoring and coaching for me. Watching people. I put my son and daughter, my daughter I put on a coaching and spent a lot of money on that. And by the way, the best thing you can invest in is education. Some people kind of think it's bad. They spent all this money and they could have bought a property with their education, but they would have never bought the property anyway. So why not have the education? And so I spent that on my daughter, and going on that journey with my daughter, I met a lot of great people who also, by just meeting them and connecting with them, added value to my life. The same with my son. I put him with an organization that does coaching for entrepreneurs. And again, I'm the plus one. So I get to sit in and see many of these people in action, and I can take away those components. I don't know whether that helps. So
no, that's a great answer.
Older people, it's been books.
Yeah, social magnetism. I love it.
It's been meeting people like yourself. It's been audio, a combination of all these things. Some of them I've paid for. Some of them has just been a natural component of me just working with people, everyday people. And I think people who say, well, have you made $1 million? And you haven't, and then you say, oh, well, then you can't coach me. Well, that's rubbish. They could probably coach you on how to be happy or something else.
Absolutely.
So maybe not in the concepts of how to make $1 million, but they can coach you in other areas of your life, which again, using the compound effect, will actually help you build that. If you want $1 million, will help you build that $1 million.
I believe that as well. Definitely.
There you go.
People listening.
That's it. Well, that's it. We've done everything. We've solved the world's problems.
We've solved the life. We got we have people listening to the show, and they're like, Ben's awesome, of course, right? He has an awesome cup. He has an awesome business. I love what he's about. If they wanted you to be their mentor, what would your expectations for them be for that relationship? What would you tell them? Hey, if I'm going to take time out of my schedule because we know you're a busy guy, this is what I would expect.
Yeah, yeah. Now that's a very good question, because I've actually turned a lot of people away who've asked for mentoring. Mm-hmm. A lot of the time, I just want to get on with my own stuff, because I like building stuff.
Absolutely.
Whatever it is, and one of my next goals is to think, how can someone who looks like me be an A-lister in the acting world? So that's my next challenge.
Very cool.
I don't know whether I'll go through with that challenge myself, but that's the next thing that's going through my head. And when I'm coaching people, it actually distracts me from my own sets of goals. Last year, I coached probably about 33 people on different aspects, and yeah, it was more. So if someone asked me, I set a little task for them. There's a guy in the photography world who asked me to coach him, but he didn't follow through on the task. So I had a look at his social media, and I had a look at his website, and I said, you need to rewrite it. I actually rewrote it for him, and he didn't implement it, which makes me think, he's come back. I never told him to give up his job, but his coach suggested he should give it up. And by the way, people, if you want to be in business, don't just give up your job. That's a crazy thing to do. That's like some of these people who say, feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
The way I got into business is because, I built up some financial reserves, because when you build up a business, you're going to have to learn how to sell, you're going to have to learn how to market, you're going to have to, later on you'll learn about branding, you're going to have to learn how to do your accounts and your admin. So, I'm always telling people, build it while you're doing your job. And enjoy your job. Stop telling me your job is rubbish, because without your job, you wouldn't have mentoring and coaching in your job. And find a way to like your boss. If you don't, he's a horrible or she's a horrible person. And if they're a horrible or person, then hopefully your skill set will be high enough for you to get another job with someone you like working with.
Wow.
If you don't like your job, change your boss. But don't quit it. And if you can't change your job, by the way, it's telling me something about you.
Ooh, that's hard.
Telling me your skill level isn't great enough, or your confidence isn't great enough, and you need to learn about confidence to find another job. But if you want to set up your business, do it in the background, and make that sacrifice, because you will have to make sacrifices in business.
100%.
So for me to coach someone, I need to see them do something. We will have a conversation, and then I'll watch them. And by the way, I will have watched their Facebook and a whole bunch of things. And if I feel there's any hint of over-branding to get business, I walk. There's so many people who are highly branded, but you ask them to do something and they will let you down.
Yeah.
And that is not something I want to have on my conscience. I want to see you delivering. So, and sometimes I want to see you delivering for free.
That's awesome.
For free. Yeah. And people don't understand that concept, Yes, but I'm a high-level guitar player, so why should I teach and coach people to play the guitar for free? Well, how many customers do you have? 0. Well, okay. Why would anybody think you're an awesome guitar player? Who said that? My coach did, my mother did, my brother did. I don't care. Do it for free. Get testimonials. Have a LinkedIn account or Facebook. Or, get 10 or 15 testimonials. Yes, you may be able to charge for that. And obviously it's better to charge. Of course we want to charge and get money. But if you're getting 0 customers, then please learn to add value for free. It won't be quite free. Ask them if they have no money. Ask them to give you a testimonial.
Huge.
And get someone like me to write the testimonial for you. Don't say, oh, they're a great person. You want them to talk about, to use the guitar analogy. Tay, he coached me in playing the guitar, and within over that time, I wanted to give up, but he encouraged me to carry on, and now because of that, I've learned to play to a high level, and I was able to serenade my sweetheart because of the songs that he helped me develop and play, and now we're happily married.
That's gold.
Something like that. Don't just say Tay's a great person.
Yeah.
It's really encouraging and inspiring, and that's why I would recommend you. Get the right them to write a benefit of them having that lesson, that coaching or that business component with you. But do it for free if you've got 0 customers. Because it's telling me you don't know how to sell, for number one, and the best way to sell is to get your testimonials. And you can say, if somebody says, why should I deal with you? You might say, well, what I can tell you is and show you is these testimonials, and this is why people like my business.
Huge.
Does that make sense?
100%.
I'm really telling people going against all the wealth coaches, aren't I? Really.
Speak your truth, and yeah.
But it's how I built my businesses.
Exactly.
I built so much. I had a television show on cybersecurity, but and they paid me a lot of money for 2 months. And people said, "Oh, Ben, you're so lucky. It's really easy for you." What they didn't see is my 2 years of doing podcasts like you. Yes. For free. I would go and meet a security guru, and I'd interview them, and I'd be thinking, now this is my skill set. How can I make them look good in the podcast? And over time, I became this security guru, because they taught me so much just by my interviews with them. And that's how I got this television series, that people saw that digital trail. But that was for free. And as a result of that, and remember the compound effect of that television series and the podcast, I got other deals with very large corporates. By the way, also, if you've got a business, try and deal with corporates. If you want to make money, why are you dealing with 4 people? Do that for pro bono for them and get testimonials from them.
Oh, that's great advice. Absolutely.
So those, in a roundabout way, I think I answered your question.
No, you did. You absolutely did.
If you want me to coach you, I'm going to ask you to do some things, and if you don't do it, that's fine. I will say, listen, we should just go to the pub and have a drink together, or go for a coffee and have a, let's be friends. I don't think I'd be a great coach for you. That's how I walk away from coaching. You need someone who, for example, some people like you to shout at them and you to swear at them and tell them that they're an effing whatever it is. Yeah. That's not my kind of coaching. Yeah. But I've seen that be very effective. Some people. Yeah. I said it to someone I was coaching. I said, "Can I just help me understand something? If I shouted and screamed at you, would you do more action?" Yeah. I said, "Yeah, I would." I'm thinking, like,
yeah, you need to go find somebody else. It's like, I'm not going to do that.
But some of the billionaire coaches, that's what they do. And I know someone who's being coached right now. I was thinking maybe I should do that just to evolve because really at the end of the day, all I want to see is your success. And maybe it's my ego not wanting to swear and cuss at you and shout at you. To get you to do, maybe because my ego is saying, Ben, you know a better way, but maybe it's not the best way, because everyone's an individual, and maybe I do need to shout at some people.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah,
so that's me being coached, me watching other people and thinking, looking at their effectiveness.
No, I love it. Speaking of other things that make you very effective, what are some resources that you use that keeps you on track, or that you feel that contributes to you being able to stay organized and get after it every day?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So my personal life, I'm actually very disorganized.
Mm.
My corporate life and my business life, I'm organized. I have a team actually, and this is a really important concept um, that I would suggest people look at. My disorganized is also, it's a strength and a weakness because it allows me to do off the cuff interviews like this one. It allows me to go on stage and instantly deliver a talk with 3 minutes notice.
Absolutely.
So I may not have nothing prepared, but it also is a major disadvantage for ensuring my tax returns gets there on time. So when I think one of the things you have to understand is understand your weaknesses. And for example, I've always had some great teams to help me. My property team, they handle a lot of that administration and that organization that, to be frank with you, I get very bored with.
Yeah.
So they help with that. You met Anne, who put me in touch with you. Now, obviously, I could have found you myself. I'm in social media. I've had media businesses.
Yeah.
But again, to keep the constant contact and communication, setting up this connection, I would have just, with all the things that are going on in my life, may have dropped the ball there.
Yeah.
So the number one thing is understand your weaknesses and get a team. If you're not very good at sales, find somebody who's good at deals and strike a deal with them. Now, this is where you need to really keep your ego in check. So someone like me, I can do everything. I know how to do so many different things.
Yeah.
And I can do it at a very high level. So if I do the sale, I will make more money. But, I've got to keep that ego in check and get someone, maybe they're not as good at sales as I am, but I won't be as stressed. I'll be more on the ball. I'll be able to deliver more effectively by having that person doing the sales. And yes, I will make less money, but I will go much further by having that team. Same with my property team. We acquire properties and we split the profit between us. Now, in the early days, I acquired the properties myself, and I would make a lot of money. But again, I would go slowly. I would not be going as far and as fast today without my trained team.
That's huge.
So for example, with the sales example, I would say, listen, perhaps if you're just starting out, I can't pay you, but you tell me you're the greatest salesperson. Perhaps I can give you 50% of the profit. Now, you probably wouldn't do that. Once you've established your business, you may even make that salesperson a business partner at some stage. But at least you will have got something. To me, something is always better than nothing.
I agree.
Yeah. So I'd rather have a little profit rather than zero profit.
Definitely.
And that's you keeping your ego and me trying to keep my ego.
Love it.
Which is, by the way, a struggle.
No, I think you're the right balance. Your confidence shines through, and that is because of the experience. But I think you're also able to say, hey, this is where I need to. You've already said it. This is where I need to work. This is why I have a team, because this is where my weakness and strength are. So I think you have a great balance, and that's really hard to actually establish. So.
Yes, and if you've got children, they will also keep you humble. Dad, you told me to do it like this, and I don't see you doing the same thing.
Oh yeah, because they see, they see everything. Yeah, great memories, and someone who's so experienced and you've worked hard and you've earned it. Tell us about a time that you faced a huge obstacle, that was either fought through with the help of a mentor, or maybe you wish you had a mentor at that time?
Oh, yes. I have lost a lot of money. A close relative had a different partner who was his behavior is very controlling, and he's very untrusting of people.
Mm-hmm.
And this partner, who she was very in love with, caused me to lose a significant amount of my wealth, a lot of debt. Now, probably if I had a mentor at the time, I would have handled it better, and I wouldn't have had that huge loss. So, in fact, some of the people who've written testimonials about me, they said without Ben, one of them, which is a video testimonial, he essentially said I would have lost roughly $1 million in US dollars.
Wow.
If it hadn't been for Ben rescuing this deal. And probably I needed a Ben at that stage when I lost that money to get me through it. Because they would have said, look, you need to sort out a contract right now. This is how you can limit the amount of damage that's happened, and this is what you can do to prevent future challenges like this happening in your life. That's what a mentor and coach will do for you when you're going through those challenges. And I wish I had somebody then at the time.
No, I love that. Yeah, looking back at our former selves, the people that we are now, we would make outstanding mentors for ourselves. Like, hey, what are you thinking? And some people write letters to their future selves, and it's really cool to look back and say, whoa, this is where I was at this point in my life, and hopefully, and definitely evident in what you're doing, and I can even say in myself and my wife and my family, we can look back at, if we were reading that letter, wow, we've grown. And that's the goal, is to grow, keep growing, and be a different person later on.
And I love that future letter strategy you've just mentioned, because I was at an event run by a lovely lady. Her name's Tina Alton.
Mm-hmm.
And at the event, I was actually a speaker at the event, but I was also a participant. All speakers are participants as well. And we had to write ourselves, our future selves, a letter.
Mm.
And then she kept all the letters, and 1 year later she posted them. So we wrote the address to ourselves and stuff.
Yeah.
It was very revealing. I think it's a lovely thing to do. So maybe I'll start up a business.
Yeah.
Like, hey, and I want you to write a letter. I'm going to charge you $10. Yes, and I will send you the letter that you wrote. You do all the work, and I'll send it to you. Because most people will forget, right?
Yeah. And then you're going to be surprised, like, I don't know, 5-10 years down the road, you're like, what is this? And you get this, like, nicely packaged letter. You're like, this is so cool.
And then you're thinking, who's it from? Because you don't remember who did it. I really didn't remember I'd written that letter. And I was looking, and I was thinking, this looks like my handwriting.
Yeah. That's super cool. Let me know if you do that. I'll probably be one of your first customers. That's
all right.
I like it.
Yeah. So let me just check the price barrier. Yeah. We'll do it for $50.
It'll convert. Yeah. It'll be good.
There's this story, and I don't know how true it is, but there was a teacher who asked the children to write what she calls a true lie.
Mm-hmm.
And the children, they were at an age where they understood, long words.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether that's 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. But a true lie is what she wanted them to do was write a letter about the person they believed that they were going to be.
Love it. Yeah.
In terms of their character.
Mm-hmm.
So the children were that you become a very kind person and stuff. And so they wrote this letter, and they tracked what happened to the children, and over time they became the character in their letter.
Yes.
Which I thought was an awesome concept. I was just, I've been thinking for ages how I can execute that for people, apart from talking about it, because many of us are so good at talking, but it's the execution that counts. So I've been thinking, how can we execute this?
Yeah,
anyway,
that's brilliant.
outside of a classroom, because I think that's a pretty lovely thing to do. Maybe I'll just do it as a workshop.
Yeah. Oh man, we're coming up with some really good stuff here. That's cool. So, as a person who networks, talks to a lot of people, reads, and not only that, but writes books, I'm curious, what's a quote, a poem, a short passage, maybe it's from Social Magnetism, that you use that keeps your passion on fire and that just keeps you on track day after day?
Well, I guess it's two phrases that have motivated me in my life. The first one was how to add value to everybody wherever I was. And so I got that out of the technology world, where I was just an administrator. That was my first job.
Yeah.
And I used to go to the technical department and ask them questions. And in the 80s, it was very much knowledge is power, so you didn't share your knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And the technical people will say, can't tell you that, Ben.
Yeah.
But ask the person to call us and we'll tell them.
Hmm.
Now, sometimes it was only to tell the customer to use a different cable. And when I found that, I thought, this is horrible. I am going to make every single bit of your knowledge that was going in my head. I'm going to make it open to the world. And that's actually how I started in education and training and became a stage speaker. So little by little, things grew. So that was one thing. How can I coach and educate people to move to the next level? The second thing was as I got more and more into media, my second, if you like, vision or statement that I live by is how can I give everybody their 15 minutes of fame?
Yeah.
So being the editorial director of a very large media company, I was able to interview many people and give them that 15 minutes of fame and value, because some of them, I don't know why they're opening their mouth and saying the things they're saying, because if anybody printed it raw, it would be detrimental to their brand. So I would be rewriting some of this stuff or deleting a lot of the things they've written because there was no corroboration when I would have been on the internet. So two things. One, how can I add value? The second thing is how can I give you your 15 minutes of fame?
Yeah.
And the third one is to be an oasis in the storm. So that came out because, I would look at some of the people in the service industry, and in the States, they're all always smiling and they're happy. In the UK, it's a bit different. In other countries, they're a bit different.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of people like going to the States, because you guys are always saying, hey, have a great day. You're looking so great. I love your shoes, or whatever it is. And it's really trying to make you feel great inside. But behind the scenes, a lot of them aren't going through particularly a great time. Mm-hmm. So I'm always thinking, how can I reverse engineer that? How can I do something that may look badly on me, but will make you laugh or happy, or will help you earn an extra few cents or dollars in your life?
That's awesome.
So how can I be an oasis in the storm? So those are the three.
Yeah.
How to add value, how to give you your 15 minutes of fame, and how to be an oasis in the storm. So there are videos of me online and in YouTube of me doing absolutely crazy things, such as getting up in the middle of a plane and reading a book to people. And you'll see people just afterwards just clapping. You'll see the air steward just walking by me and smiling. He didn't shut me down. He didn't ask me to get off the plane. And so you'll see me doing these crazy things.
Yeah.
And all of that is coming out of, how to entertain, how to educate, how to add value to people.
I love it. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
You're good, man. You're just, I'm like absorbing and trying to think of how I can use it in my life as well. It's funny, people talk to me about the podcast and they're like, oh, you get to do the podcast and it's great. There's value in the people that you're interviewing. And I'm like, I get to listen to everything that I'm talking to people about,
And
so
this is
I
brilliant.
get amazing about
Yeah. Well, you see, Tay, that's how I became so awesome in cybersecurity.
it. Yeah.
Because I'm doing the podcasts, I'm doing the interviewing, but I'm learning from them.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm like absorbing everything right now.
it's a really great way for you to get coaching, very expensive coaching. You, so people pay me £10,000, okay, for those sessions.
Wow.
So and you'll get it, and this is how I did it. Now the other thing that's happening is your mindset is increasing, and you're starting to put this in the life of your own and your family's lives. That's going to push you forward as that kind of, at the moment, mindset coach. Maybe you'll find a way to monetize your podcasts, or if you're already doing it at a later stage. So with my podcast, people start, and there's a corporation, Diageo. They are in the alcohol industry. They don't call it alcohol because that doesn't have great connotations. Maybe the feel-good industry, I don't know. But, you know what, they asked me to do 10 5-minute podcasts, and they paid me £20,000, which is equivalent to roughly $30,000 for that. It didn't happen overnight, but they saw that trend. And of course, hey, you're not only learning your interview skills, Tay, but you're getting a brand for yourself in this mindset world, but you're also learning how to edit. You're also learning how to set up your technical correct, because I'm sure your early podcasts, the sound wasn't great, or the communication, or you asked the wrong questions.
Yeah.
So the value was fantastic.
Me and my wife. That's it.
But you're learning so many skills just by taking this kind of action.
Yeah.
And, you know, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
How much do you get paid for this?
0.
Absolutely. I didn't get paid anything for that.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm saying I'm a great fan of people just going out and, you know, if they want to be a guitar coach or a flute coach or an acting coach, it'll push you up.
Yeah.
And some of those security people later on came back to me and said, hey, Ben, you were so good and we got so much value out of that. Do you know what? I'd like you to do this for me. Now, just guess what? If you wanted to be a guitar... In fact, by the way, I don't know anything about guitar. I don't play the guitar. I have zero knowledge, and I don't want to learn it at all. But if I wanted to be an iconic guitar player, guess what I would do? I would do what Tay's doing, and I would set up my guitar podcast, and I would go and find, iconic guitar players, maybe Brian May from Queen, or, these kind of guitar players, and interview them.
Yeah.
Now, guess what that is going to do for me if I want to be in the guitar industry? So some of them may even say, hey, look, I'm very busy, why don't you come around? They'll show you their collection of 50 iconic guitars. Would you like to play that one? Would you like to do a jam session with me? Over time, that would happen.
Yeah.
It's just that small compound effect happening.
I love
It won't. So these guys don't think Ben said this, so it's going to happen straight away.
Yeah.
It may never happen. This is not why you're doing it.
Exactly.
But you're doing that to add that value and build your brand, and it just happens over time. It's like, I love this other thing that I will look at is how to make it. So I please don't get me wrong. I love the whole concept of failure, but I also build, if you like, strategies to make it impossible to fail. It cannot help. So when I set this goal to be very wealthy, and I set an age, by the age of 35, this is what I want to be.
Yeah.
I had 4 or 5 strategies in place so that if I messed up in one of the other strategies or it didn't work with me, then I would still be wealthy.
I love it.
One of them, so I'll share with you what they are very quickly. One was to have a pension.
Yeah.
Yes, because in those days the pension market was great. That failed, by the way, because of the way percentages went to the people who set up your pensions for you. The second way was through network marketing. Right now, that didn't successful because, I would have these people who would be in my network, but they didn't have the mindset to sell.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted me to do all the work, and I thought, and I want them to be successful, and it was hurting me because I'm doing their sales as well as mine. So that wasn't very good for me. The third one was property. That was great for me. The fourth one was media, and so I get a lot of passive income through my media. This book, by the way, this doesn't make me money. This book, Social Magnetism. This book made me over $1 million. Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
So Microsoft, how to become a Microsoft certified engineer book.
Wow.
And as a result, Microsoft took me around the world for that. So this social magnetism is really just myself and my son who helped me do this, Nathan Chai, because I don't actually have the time to do a lot of my writing today, so it helps me quite a bit. I edit that or rewrite it. So that's more us trying to give back to society.
Yeah.
So pension, that didn't work out. I was putting in the pension the amount to get me to be a millionaire by 35. The network marketing didn't. Writing did through the passive income there. Mm-hmm. Property did through the passive income there. And I did a lot of acting, and I got used to get checks when they used to do repeats on television.
Yeah.
That I got distracted and didn't follow through with that. And the third one, by the way, is business.
Yeah.
So you mentioned having your finger in many pies. Or maybe you didn't. Maybe that's just a phrase that came into it, and I'm just making that phrase up so I can mention something. Maybe that's
no, I did. I talked about you're doing a lot, which is good.
All right. Okay. So if you have like 5% or 10%, a small percentage in a lot of businesses, and one of those businesses sold for a lot of money, then you will make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So one of the businesses that I had a percentage in was in the education and training business, and when they started up, they couldn't pay me. So they said, look, if we give you some equity, we don't know why, but we know that you'll help us. And so they took me along to meetings to help close deals. They sometimes I had to give them give training courses, which they gave me. They did pay me a little bit for, but that 5% of that business, their business sold for £7 million.
Wow.
And they offered me an extra 5%, by the way. And I said, well, for the amount of work I do, offer it to everybody else. And if they don't want the extra 5%, I'll gladly give that extra 5%. But if you think about it, 5% of £7 million we're talking about, so that's equivalent to roughly 10 or 12 million of your US dollars, is a significant amount of money. With that, I reinvested that into property. And that grew. So those are 3 plays. And business, by the way, is a great passive income play if you're willing to let go of earning big money. So just have 5 or 10%. I know everyone wants to be a Zuckerberg or by the way, Amazon, which is a very, very strong business, that didn't really make any money for 7 or 8 years. In fact, it almost went under because of the amount of debt that it was under. So I don't think many of us have I certainly don't have the mindset to go with 7 or 8 years of massive debt. I don't think I could work through it. No. But having 5% in somebody else's business and giving your time pro bono for that, you can do that. Anybody can do that. As long as you don't get greedy and think, I'm doing all this work and you're doing, just think about your investment.
That's it. Just giving straight gold, straight value, and
so the 3 that worked for me was the property, the media, and having percentages in different people's businesses. And by the way, some people say they can't pay me, but would I like a percentage of their business? And that's what.
That's huge. You have to open up your mind, be patient, and then put your head down and work, and that's
I
it.
love patience and work.
That's huge.
I think those two, in the Western world, are two concepts that are lost.
Mm.
So if you want to get great teams who are patient and who will work, and it's really a sad reflection on the Western world, actually, that's why the Asian and the Eastern European economies have done so well, because they're willing to do the work.
Yeah.
And they're willing to do the work and substantially less to grow themselves until they become the tigers that they have grown into.
Wow. I could probably talk to you for 5 hours. You just have an amazing amount of information, and I can tell you're passionate about it, and you also know what you're talking about. I'm glad my listeners and my audience just was able to be exposed to the knowledge that you have. We're actually at the torch holder, the pass the torch portion of our show, which
great. What does that mean? Do I get to interview you?
No.
You're pass the torch.
we probably could. You got it in my mind just now. We probably could figure something out. This is the part where you get to leave a legacy, so to speak. So it's kind of like the letter that we were talking about earlier. We've got to the point in our program where you have 1 minute to pass the torch and leave a legacy. As we know. Oh, go ahead.
What does that mean? You're going to explain to me what passing the torch.
Absolutely. So our definition of a mentor is someone that can mentor you to success and guide you to success. Based on the success that you've reached at this point in your life, then if you could leave a legacy message or pass the torch onto someone in a similar situation, how would you do that? But the catch is, how would you do it in 1 minute?
All right, tell me when to stop.
And go.
Understand compound effects. Do little things every day, Rick. Don't try to be big overnight. Have the big vision, but grow it in little chunks. If you set a vision, set a big vision, and then break it down. Don't believe anything anybody tells you. Just believe in yourself. Find a way to love yourself. If you don't love yourself, find a way to love yourself. Read religious texts, or do Wayne Dyer mirror technique, which I shared in this broadcast, and hard work. Hard work is very important, and sacrifices is very important. I didn't date for a long time to get to where I am, and I think those are the main things. But hard work and patience and compound effect will always get you there.
I love it. Ben, oh my gosh, thank you so much for the amount of value, for the passion, for absolutely being entertaining during the show. Loved it. And
you know, ages ago, when I had my own radio, I tried to do crazy things like juggle on the radio, and it wasn't very entertaining. It was just silence. So yeah, that wasn't a very entertaining thing.
No, I love
so
it.
I was just thinking, I was thinking to hula hoop, but that wouldn't have been very good either.
You were perfect. You were perfect. You did it. No, we're definitely gonna have you back again when we're at a different point and where we're like, okay, let's reconnect. But brother, I appreciate you for being on the show. This is Levante and Ben Chai on Pass the Torch podcast, reminding you to seek knowledge and pass the torch.